This is JC Sendon, and welcome to my new weekly spot, Free Speech.
Rupert Huck joins me, Labour MP for Ealing Central and Acton, who's calling for Mr Zimkovits to be refused entry to the UK.
Hi Ian, it's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a while. This man was due to make a speech in your constituency. That has apparently been cancelled. How did you first become aware of him?
Well, I was tipped off by two different groups, and in fact, Warren constituents. Ealing is a very Polish area, always has been, pre-2004 expansion. I went to school with the Dabski-Nerlichers, the DeCostas, Dunning-Borkowskas, that was their name. They taught me as well, these kind of people. And I think it was deliberately calculated to offend, to do it in the very Polish area. He's a man with limited appeal. London Borough of Ealing is one of our most multicultural boroughs. So I had constituents and also two sort of anti-fascist groups tipping me off, saying this is happening. And it was part of a tour, I think. I'm not sure how far the other dates are going along, but Ealing
he's apparently speaking in Bristol and Cambridge on Friday and Saturday.
Ah, right.
On what basis do you think he should be banned from this country?
I mean, I think that these things should always be on a case-by-case basis. I'm into free speech as well. I was a university academic. When I saw what happened to Jacob Rees-Mogg the other day, I was appalled that should be happening on one of our campuses. But this chap, I mean, I was presented with all these things he said with dates. I think he's a right-wing journalist. I think
he's a right-wing journalist, and just because of that, she wants to ban him from coming into our country. Does that make sense to you? So that makes sense to me.
He's possibly bordering on the Katie Hopkins or something. He's a shock jock.
Now, I personally like Katie Hopkins. I don't see the problem with her. She is a shock jock kind of person, but she tells it the way it is. But again, there's still no reason why you need to ban this guy. So please explain.
He says things calculated to offend. But, I mean, he's a Holocaust denier. We've just gone through Holocaust Memorial Day and we've said never again, and this is what intolerance breeds.
Well, of course, he's denying all of these things. That's the problem here, isn't it? I mean, he's even threatening to sue you for what you've already said about him.
I mean, apparently he does this quite often.
First things first, just because you deny something's happened does not mean that you get banned from a country or get banned from anywhere, whether it be the Holocaust or anything. So that's still not a reason. Now this woman's scared that he's actually going to take her to court. This I've got to hear.
So I'm hoping this is hot air, but there are dates with his Holocaust denial. He's laughed at the idea of Jewish death camps. And I think sensitivities in Poland are high at the moment as well, because they've had a rule change there, and they've got a centre-right government at the moment. But also, I think he's said a lot of Islamophobic things as well, saying that all Muslims are rapists.
If any of this is anything like the whole Trump thing, where he was supposed to have said that all Muslims are terrorists and nasty people and all this kind of stuff, which is actually false, and I've got video evidence of it. If it's anything like that, then I guarantee what this woman is saying is BS. But I would love to hear the evidence. Let's see.
That kind of thing. So I've been sent lists with dates. I mean, if we want to do the fisking, that is possible.
All of which is incredibly distasteful and all the rest of it. But should that mean that he should be banned from this country? Because what we risk doing if we do this, I suppose, is almost creating a martyr. Should we not be using the power of argument to destroy his views?
The voice of logic at last. Let's see how long it does last, though.
I just don't think he's conducive to good race relations in this country, and certainly not in Ealing and Acton. And we have precedent for this in this country. So Theresa May, when she was Home Secretary, used to be quite swift at banning people. She did it to a rapper once. She did it to a hate preacher who was coming from India.
Now we're getting to the facts. Remember, you cannot criticise Islam because it's Islamophobic. Her argument is now, but Theresa May had banned this Indian preacher that was preaching out hate, so why can't we do it? Because two wrongs definitely make a right, don't they? It's just an excuse to stop free speech. It's just an excuse to stop criticise of Islam.
So the same would apply to Islamophobic people, but also to Muslim hate preachers. Anything to do with
but some people are saying, well, you call for Trump to be banned from this country for his racist views. I mean, this is a bit of a bandwagon, isn't it?
I wouldn't. Ian Dale is a famous right winger. I wouldn't call for him to be banned.
Well,
because
thank you.
He's not asking
banned from my own country.
So I mean, it's on a case by case basis, and I just don't think there would have been a counter protest that would have caused problems for the police.
There would have been a counter protest. There would be problems with the police. So because free speech may be hard, and the police need to be there because the people on the left are complete and utter assholes that want to commit all this violence against the people on the right, then we can't hear the people on the right because the left are actually committing violence to the people on the right. Now, in any which way is that correct? In any which way is that any kind of logic? They're shouting too much, they're committing too much violence, so we can't let you speak because you're upsetting too many people. Tell me how that's wrong.
I don't think in this case, and as I say, there's precedent for it in this country.
Okay, well, but we have laws on hate crimes, we have laws on freedom of speech. Do you think the UK is a bit of an easy place to spread hateful views?
The UK definitely does have laws on hate crime. Hate crime is BS, by the way. It's just a method of stopping you from having your free speech. Where people don't have an argument, they need to stop you somehow. So whether you're talking about Islam or any other left-leaning bullshit, it's just a way to stop you from saying what you think is correct. And if you do that to any society, then any society will rise. It's happened in the past, and I'm sure it's going to happen in the future.
Do you think those laws need to be tightened up?
Well, I think we've got a climate at the moment where we've got a divided nation following the referendum, and we know that hate crime is, figures of reported hate crime going. There's been a spike.
Hear the truth about hate crime. Hate crime is if you believe it's a hate crime. So if you report it for anything, so let's just say, for instance, you had an argument with your neighbour, and you consider it was a hate crime, that's reported as a hate crime. That's how much BS it is. It's not like it gets reported to the police and then they investigate it and then they call it a hate crime. They call it hate crime at the point of actually being reported as a hate crime, even though it's not been investigated as a hate crime. So the spike of hate crime is actually BS as per usual.
So I think at this time, as I say, because those laws were originally in the 60s, weren't they? That was Roy Jenkins. It was a Labour government.
So you do think
freedom of speech
these laws
has limits. I think freedom of speech shouldn't just and hate speech is not the same as free speech.
Can I just confirm something with you? Hate speech is free speech. No matter what you say about anyone, it should be free speech. No matter what this country bring in as a stupid law called hate crime, whatever I say to anyone, it should be free speech. The only time that free speech gets controlled in one way or another is if you incite violence. And at that point, I'd agree there should not be free speech for that. But other than that, you should be allowed to say whatever you like to anyone. And don't care about your feelings. Because if you don't like it, then have a good argument to come back at me, to make me look stupid if you think I'm wrong. Because that's the way that free speech works. Free speech works by killing off bad ideas. If you don't let people speak, then bad ideas will always continue.
No, it isn't, but the problem is in defining the law here, where you would draw the line will be maybe different from where I would draw the line. How does the law actually define that? And there will be people that I would...
So Ian quite clearly stated that he doesn't believe that hate speech is free speech. But then in this sentence he said that how can you define hate speech when something that I might find hate speech is something that you wouldn't find hate speech, or vice versa. So in fact, hate speech is definitely BS. It depends on the person. And what hate speech is to either shut you down or the fact that people's feelings are hurt. And
I mean, there are people that I will not have on this programme because I regard them as essentially hate preachers. But that's my prerogative as the presenter of the programme not to have people on that I think spread hateful views.
But Theresa May did say when she was banning Zakir Naik, the televangelist preacher from India, I'm not willing to allow those not conducive to the public good to enter the UK. So, I mean, if they do more harm than...
Isn't it amazing how Theresa May won't let people in that are not good for our country, but will still allow in another 500 jihads into our country and give them houses and all that kind of shit, because they want to transform the way they think to make them better people, better British citizens. So she'll allow these murdering bastards into our country, but somehow stopping people from coming to our country just to talk is a really bad thing.
Good if they inflame people, and usually these things do have consequences. So with Islamophobic events, and remember, it's not that long ago that our friend and colleague Joe Cox was murdered in cold blood after.
Where exactly are all these white supremacists? Because I'm not seeing them anywhere. I'm not seeing them ram lorries into marketplaces. I'm not seeing them going into a concert and killing 6-year-old girls and 7-year-old girls. I'm not seeing them going onto London Bridge with big swords trying to attack people. I'm not seeing them have cars driving into Parliament. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing them going to America and actually shooting a load of people just because they're gay. So I'm just curious of where all these white supremacists are, because that's all I keep hearing on the media. And the only ones that I can think of was Joe Cox, and he was prosecuted and done with. And maybe you couldn't even call it white supremacists, the whole Finsbury Boss thing, where that bloke drove the van into the people outside the mosque. Other than that, where are the white supremacists? Could you please show me?
Doing an advice surgery by a white supremacist. So, I mean, whenever these things happen, there is a report, the Casey report that the government did, that there are trigger events, and after that you see granddads murdered on the way back from the mosque, pigs' heads left on mosque doorstep.
Earlier on in this conversation between Ian Dow and the MP, Ian Dow questioned hate speech and questioned the fact that maybe one person would find it hate speech where another person wouldn't. However, he still defines hate speech as not being free speech. You see the argument? You see where it all falls down. But what's more important is the fact that if you have a nation that believes that they cannot express their feelings on any kinds of subjects, especially when it comes to religion, then what you do is turn a nation from talking to acting on violence. That's when your nation starts crumbling all around you. It's something that we need to fight to keep, is our free speech. At the moment, the government are taking our free speech rights away from us bit by bit. Now, I've watched many a documentary in reference to the Constitution in America and how anyone can say whatever they like just so long as they don't incite violence. My apologies. Incite violence. That's where we need to be. That's where we need to go. You see, America was made by Britain. Free speech was practically invented by Britain. But it seems to me that we're the country that's starting to stop free speech. So we practically invented it, and now we're taking it away. If you take away free speech, there's nothing else to do but to fight. The only way for freedom is free speech.